and to give you an I was there version of the history of some of his many accomplishments. I also want to tell you about the attributes that made Mayor Fasi such a great mayor. I first met Frank Fasi when he won the Honolulu mayor's race in 1968. He was trying to recruit me to be his director of the building department. My first impression of the mayor was that he was an energetic guy who wanted to make Honolulu the best city in the country. Shortly after I accepted the job as director of the building department, the mayor decided to hold an architectural competition for the design of the 15-story municipal building. Today, that building, which is located a few hundred yards from here, is now known as the Mayor Frank F. Fasi Municipal Building. As the director of the building department, I was also responsible for the City Hall grounds. In 1968, the City Hall grounds were an embarrassment. Today, the City Hall grounds and the Civic Center are the envy of all levels of government. And Frank Fasi was the driving force behind that project. In 1970, when the bus drivers at the privately owned Honolulu Rapid Transit Company went on strike, Mayor Fasi decided to start the city bus system. He went to Dallas, Texas, to purchase 50 second-hand buses from the Dallas transit system. During that same trip, he went to the General Motors plant to purchase 17 additional buses and started service with that combined fleet. Today, Honolulu's bus and handy van system is one of the finest systems in the country and has twice been designated best system in the country. During a campaign trip to the neighbor islands in 1974, the mayor brought up the idea of having farmers take fruits and vegetables that did not meet grade A quality but were still edible and sell them at the open market at a lower price. That was the birth of the People's Open Market. The mayor also noticed vacant, unused city lands throughout Oahu and said, "Why can't we let our citizens have garden plots where they can grow their own vegetables?" That was the birth of the People's Gardens. During the 1970s, if you wanted to renew your driver's license, your automobile license, or get a permit, you had to go to City Hall or the City Hall Annex on the corner of Baritania and Kalakaua. Mayor Fasi said, "Why can't we take our services closer to the people?" That was the birth of the satellite city halls. And today, we can even renew our vehicle licenses from our own homes. What are the attributes that made Frank Fasi an outstanding mayor? One of the attributes can be summed up by a quote from the late Robert Kennedy, who said, "There are those who look at things the way they are and ask, why? I dream of things that aren't and ask, why not?" Frank Fasi was such a dreamer. Secondly, he had an inquisitive mind. He was a prodigious reader who read newspapers and magazines about all aspects of city operation. I distinctly remember an incident at one of our staff meetings where he tore out an article on sewer operations and handed it to Public Works Director Wally Miyahira. He then tore out another article from the same magazine and said to Wally, let's look into this solid waste idea. And just as he was about to give Wally another article from the same magazine, Wally chimed in, Mr. Mayor, why don't you give me the whole magazine? If you multiplied that exchange by the number of departments we had at City Hall, you got an idea of how active he was in trying to improve city services. The third attribute he had was guts. He wasn't afraid of anyone who stood in the way of his goal to get the job done. The fourth attribute is one which I call a propensity for action. Mayor Fasi had a propensity for action, and he had it in spades. He wanted to get things done and get them done fast. If you look at the record, you will find that Mayor Fasi, during his 22 years as mayor, accomplished more things than any other mayor in the history of our city. Was he the greatest mayor in the city ever had? There's no doubt in my mind that he was. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for all the things you did here on earth, and good luck in your quest to make heaven a better place.